There comes a moment in every battle when you realize it's not about the fight anymore. It's about what you're fighting for. And I'm fighting for everyone who won't get the chance to see tomorrow. The day had come. The moment we had prepared for the final strike. The all-or-nothing chance to take down the heart of the alien fleet. As we stood at the edge of our makeshift camp, gazing up at the sky, I could see their ships, hovering ominously, above us. The invasion had spread like a cancer across the earth. And they had set up their command center on what was once the hub of human power, the heart of the planet's military network. It was heavily fortified, surrounded by layers of shields and armed to the teeth. But we had a plan. Our team, what was left of it, had trained for this day. We had spent countless hours working on the stolen alien technology, creating weapons that might just give us the edge we needed. But even with our best efforts, we were outgunned and outnumbered. The odds were stacked against us, yet I had never seen my people more determined. We were ready. Or at least, we had no choice but to be. We had one chance to breach their defenses, one shot. If we failed, humanity would be wiped out. If we succeeded, we could cripple their operation, by time, and maybe, just maybe, turn the tide. But there were no guarantees. I looked at the faces around me, each one of them scarred. Each one of them, a reflection of the struggle we had endured. The woman who had lost her children in the first wave of attacks. The soldier who had watched his comrades fall. The scientist who had sacrificed his family to save us all. Each of them carried the weight of a world lost, and the knowledge that this mission would either make or break the future of humanity. My heart pounded as I gathered my team. We had trained for this moment, but the reality of it was different. There was no going back now. We move on, my signal, I said, my voice steady, despite the fear gnawing at my insides. We breach the shield, infiltrate their command center, and plant the charges. Once the explosion goes off, we make our escape. The rest will be up to the survivors. The team nodded, each one of them silently understanding the gravity of the task ahead. There were no speeches, no grand words, just a shared resolve. And in that silence, I felt the weight of the leadership I had carried all this time. The responsibility, the fear, the sacrifice. We slipped into the shadows, moving with precision and purpose. We were ghosts, creeping through the wreckage of a once great civilization, heading straight into the jaws of death. The alien stronghold loomed ahead, a massive fortress of metal and energy. We could hear the distant hum of their power, the crackle of their shields as we neared the base. Everything felt like it was happening in slow motion. My mind raced, calculating every possible outcome, every step we took. We reached the shield's perimeter, where the plan would unfold. We had one shot. The technician, a quiet man who had once been a factory worker, activated the alien disruptor. The humming shield flickered for a moment. My breath caught in my throat. Then, it collapsed. Now, I shouted, and we surged forward, weapons raised, adrenaline flooding our veins. We fought with everything we had, using their technology, blending it with our own instincts, our own drive to survive. But the alien forces were ready. Their soldiers emerged, their glowing eyes fixed on us as they unleashed a barrage of fire. Explosions tore through the air, and the ground shook beneath us as we fought to push forward. I watched as one of my team, a young man I'd come to trust like a brother, fell. His body crumpled to the ground in a fiery explosion, and for a split second, everything slowed. I reached for him, but it was too late. A wave of fury washed over me. This was it. No more hesitation. No more doubt. We would fight until the end. We pushed forward, climbing over the wreckage, darting through smoke and fire, our hearts pounding. The stakes had never been higher. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a fight to reclaim what we had lost, to show the invaders that humanity would not be extinguished. Finally, we reached the command center, the heart of their operation. The doors were heavily guarded, but we breached them, planting the explosives on the alien central core. We didn't have time to marvel at our success. The countdown had already begun. Time to go, I said through gritted teeth. As the first tremors of the impending explosion shook the building, we sprinted out, the explosions ringing in our ears. The world seemed to crumble around us. But we didn't stop. We couldn't dot as the massive blast ripped through the alien base, sending shockwaves across the battlefield. We barely made it out. The shockwave pushed us to the ground, the earth shaking beneath us. The explosion was so powerful that it could be seen from miles away, and for the first time, I felt a flicker of hope. The tide was turning. We made it back to the remaining survivors, those who had stayed behind, who had never given up. They watched us return. their faces a mix of awe and relief. But the victory came at a heavy price. The team that had fought by my side was gone, some dead, some missing, their sacrifices etched into the very fabric of this war. We had won, but the cost was great. We had lost so much: our friends, our families, our innocence. As I sat there, looking out over the horizon, where the last of the alien ships were retreating, I realized something. We had made it. We had won. But at what cost? Humanity had survived, but the scars would last forever. The war was over, but the future, our future, was uncertain. The Earth was changed. We were changed. And yet, despite it all, as the sun rose over a world still standing, I knew one thing for certain. We would rebuild. We would rise again, because we are human. And that is what we do. It wasn't the firepower that would win us this war. It was the fire inside us. The same fire that never let us give up. The same fire that made us human. It had been weeks since the initial invasion, but it felt like years. The world we had known, the cities, the governments, all reduced to ash. But we weren't done. Not yet. What was left of humanity had begun to regroup, to rebuild in the wreckage of a dying world. The survivors formed ragged, scattered groups, clinging together for safety. No one trusted anyone at first. Fear hung over every interaction. We had no idea who the aliens might have infiltrated. We were as broken as the planet itself. But somehow, through sheer will, we held together. I'd never wanted to lead. Hell, I barely wanted to survive. But somehow, I had become the one they turned to. At first, it was because I had a little military experience. I'd been a soldier once, before everything changed. But soon enough, I realized something. The survival of the human race depended not on force or strategy, but on hope, and in that hope, I became their reluctant leader. There was a moment, late one night, when the decision was made. We had just returned from one of our first covert operations, little more than a scouting mission, but it had cost us. A few good people gone, and all we'd managed to steal was some alien tech. It wasn't much, just a few fragments of their communication systems and some broken weapons, but it was a start. As I sat around the fire with the others, a scarred, silent man spoke up. His voice was rough, like it hadn't been used in a long time. We need to do more. We can't just hide forever. If we keep waiting for them to make the first move, we're already dead. He was right. It wasn't just about surviving anymore. We had to fight back. That night, as we made our plans, I realized something profound. If we were going to defeat these invaders, we couldn't do it alone. We had to come together, as fractured and broken as we were. It didn't matter how many of us there were. It mattered how we fought. Our first operation was simple takedown. A small outpost, a handful of alien soldiers, a couple of guns, a couple of alien tech relics. It wasn't much, but it was something. We spent the next days organizing. The survivors came together like puzzle pieces. People from different walks of life. Scientists, mechanics, soldiers, civilians. It didn't matter anymore. We had one goal. We started learning. We started adapting. The first time I saw one of our engineers hold a piece of alien tech and, with a quiet smile, turn it into something useful, I knew we were onto something. Humans were a resourceful bunch when backed into a corner. It was our greatest strength. We were able to use stolen alien weapons, technology, and tactics to create the backbone of our resistance. We hacked into their communication systems, used their energy sources to power our hideouts, and repurposed their weapons to level the playing field. Each operation we carried out, no matter how small, was a win. And each victory fueled the fire within us. But with each success came a new gnawing doubt. We were playing a dangerous game. The more we attacked, the more we were noticed. The more we used their technology, the more we exposed ourselves to their wrath. I couldn't shake the fear that with every step forward, we were walking a tighter line between victory and complete destruction. I remember our second major operation. We had managed to gain intelligence that the aliens were planning to launch a major counteroffensive. It was a gamble. If we hit them hard enough, we might delay their plans, or even stop them altogether. But if we failed, it would only make them more brutal. Our strategy was simple: strike fast, hit hard, and get out. We were no match for them in open combat. But we had something they didn't: guile, and humanity's knack for improvisation. The night before the attack, I sat alone, staring at the map we'd drawn of the alien base. My hands were shaking. Not from fear, but from the burden of the decision. Lives were on the line, and not just ours. The future of the human race rested on our shoulders. We couldn't afford to fail. As the team gathered in the morning, ready for the assault, I felt it, the weight of leadership, the weight of their hopes, and with it, the crushing responsibility. I wasn't just a soldier anymore. I wasn't just fighting for my life. I was fighting for the last remnants of humanity. The operation went off without a hitch. We struck their power grid, knocked out their communications, and caused enough chaos to slow their plans down for a few crucial days. But the cost was steep. 2 of our best fighters never made it out. We couldn't afford to mourn them, not yet. We couldn't afford to look back. But as we walked back to our hideout, the sun rising over the devastated land, I realized something. We were no longer just surviving. We were fighting. We were fighting for a future. And that feeling was more than just a spark. It was a flame. And it was spreading. With each victory, my doubts grew. But with each victory, I also grew stronger. I was becoming the leader they needed. Not because I was the best at tactics, but because I refused to give in to despair. We had seen what they could do to us, but we had also seen what we could do to them. The resistance was gaining ground, bit by bit. Humanity's ingenuity was shining brighter than ever. We had found ways to break their defenses, adapt their technology, and strike at their very heart. But I knew this wasn't just about winning battles. It was about holding on to what made us human. Our hope, our unity, our refusal to give up. They thought they could break us. They thought we would bow down to their strength. But they underestimated the heart of humanity, the heart that refuses to surrender, the heart that will fight to the last breath. The moment had arrived, the moment we had all known was coming, but could never fully prepare for. It was our last chance, our one shot at taking back what had been stolen from us. The heart of the alien fleet was vulnerable, exposed. But we had to act fast. The cost of failure was extinction. I stood before the remaining members of our resistance, a team of ragged, battle-worn soldiers, engineers, and survivors. They were no longer just civilians or soldiers. They were a brotherhood, bound by shared loss, relentless determination, and a single purpose: to end this war, once and for all. "We fought for this moment," I said, my voice hoarse, but resolute. "Every battle, every sacrifice, has led us here. Today, we end this. We take back Earth. We take back our future." The faces of my comrades, grim, determined, mirrored my own resolve. We had no illusions about what lay ahead. This mission would either succeed, or it would be the end of us all. But we were past fear. We were past doubts. We had no choice but to move forward. We made our way to the alien fleet's heart. A massive fortress in the sky, a structure of alien steel and energy, suspended by the power of their most advanced technology. Their weapons were unbeatable, their shields nearly impenetrable. But we had learned their weaknesses. We had infiltrated their systems, deciphered their codes. We had adapted, and now we had a chance to do what no one else had. Our strategy was simple: strike fast and hard, disable their central command, and destroy their power source. It was a calculated risk, but the only option we had left. The tension in the air was thick as we prepared for the assault. The aliens knew we were coming. The warning signals were flashing, and their defenses were already bracing for impact. We had no time to waste. "Move out," I shouted, and we surged forward, our weapons in hand. The weight of humanity's survival on our shoulders. The battle was chaotic. From the moment we breached their defenses, alien soldiers, horrific, towering creatures, came at us with relentless force. Their weapons lashed out in deadly precision, but we fought back with everything we had. The sound of gunfire, the crackle of alien energy weapons, and the roar of explosions filled the air. I fought like a man possessed. I'd seen too much, lost too much to let this end in failure. Every step forward, every alien soldier we took down was a step closer to reclaiming Earth. But it didn't come without a price. In the heat of the battle, one of our best fighters, a young woman, who had been with us since the beginning, was hit by an alien blast. She went down with a scream, but she didn't die in vain. Her sacrifice gave us the opening we needed. "Keep going," I screamed, my voice lost amidst the chaos. We couldn't stop. Not now. Not when we were this close. We breached the central command hub. The alien leader, a monstrous figure towering over us, was waiting. We had no time for words, no time for hesitation. I rushed toward it, my heart pounding in my chest. This was it. As I fought the alien leader, the team worked frantically to plant the explosive charges. Every move we made felt like an eternity. The alien strength was unimaginable, and I could feel the sting of every blow, but I couldn't stop. I couldn't afford to. My team was counting on me. With one final surge of strength, I managed to get close enough to plant the detonator. The alien leader shrieked in rage, but it was too late. The explosive charges were set. Run, I yelled. And we made a break for the exit. The moment we reached the blast zone, the ground shook. The explosion was massive, ripping through the heart of their fleet. The alien fortress crumbled, and with it, their power structure. We had done it. We had won. But the victory felt hollow. As we made our way back to our extraction point, I couldn't shake the loss. The people we'd lost are fallen comrades. The lives sacrificed in the name of freedom. We had saved humanity, but at what cost? The ride back to Earth was quiet. We had won, yes. But as I looked at the faces of my team, I saw the same wariness in their eyes. They had fought, not for glory, not for honor, but because they had to. They had fought to save their families, to save a world that was no longer the one they had known. As the smoke cleared, the remnants of the alien fleet floating above us, I couldn't help but reflect on the war we had fought. We had faced an enemy far stronger than us, but we had stood firm. We had fought with everything we had, and in the end, we had won. The human spirit had triumphed against impossible odds. The world had been broken, but it wasn't gone. And as long as we still breathed, as long as there was one human left to fight, we would rebuild. We would rise again. The war was over, but the future was uncertain. The scars of what we had lost would never fade. But as I looked at my team, I saw something more than just the weight of survival. I saw the spark of something greater, the will to rebuild, to create a new world from the ashes of the old. And in that, I found hope.